All right, it is Tuesday, and we are making a few changes today since we couldn't go live directly on this page, but we went to Gary's page and here. So welcome to Tuesday Talks. I'm Lisa Stewart, and every Tuesday I like to come and bring some of my friends, my guests, people that I look up to that have some knowledge, have some interesting things that I think will help all of you guys. So today I'm super excited. I have one of my daughter's best friends, Hayley, here. Hello, Hayley.
Hello. Thank you for having me. This is so fun.
Yeah. So today, I always like to talk about things that have to do with health. And so I know one thing that, it's kind of people probably think, how does this bring into health? But, I think knowing what our personalities are and what other people's personalities, especially if you work in an environment where there's other people working, is knowing what people are, what their personalities, because if people are clashing, it's not healthy. In relationships, if you're clashing or with your spouse or people, it's not healthy. So, Hayley, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got involved with Enneagrams. Is that how we even say it?
Enneagram. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So, my husband and I own an insurance agency with American Family Insurance. And that's really how we kind of got into the Enneagram. We know lots of people in ministry. We have been super involved in various ministries. And so one of the things that we love to do is just like marry the two. We run our business, it's God's business, and we're just trying to be good stewards of it. And so we know a lot of people in ministry. And one of the people that we just have loved integrating and using to help us with things like marketing and all kinds of things. He told us about this Enneagram, and Ty and I were both kind of hesitant, like another personality test. Like it's always right. Every time you take a personality test, you're always like, well, yeah, it's right, because I took the test myself and I answered the questions for myself. So every time you find out your personality, you're like, yeah, that's good. And then you kind of just are like, interesting. And then you move on. And Alan, this friend of ours, he was like, this is so different though. This is conversational. This is something that you can use in your everyday life. And, when you take your Myers-Briggs, you're always like, nailed it. They got it. And then you do nothing with it. It's not a party conversation. It's nothing you can, like, you don't really use it in your marriage or in your parenting. And so much less your business. And so that was one thing that we were kind of nervous about. And he was like, this is different. I swear it's different. And it really has been. It is so much more conversational and easy to understand and integrate into your whole life. So yeah, we've really, really enjoyed it.
So I know I have taken the test. I took it yesterday for you. And, the questions, some of them are like, are you this or are you that? And it's like, I don't know. So,
and you're like, sometimes you're like, I'm both, or sometimes you're like, I'm neither. I don't think either one of those things. So yeah, sometimes when you take it, you kind of have to think, one, what's your gut reaction? What did your heart say before your mind was like, that's not right? And what the second thing would just be to say, what is most often true? So sometimes when you feel like both are right, you have to think about what you start to do is you start to think of exceptions to the rule. And what you really need to think of is like, what is in general true? Yes, the other one is sometimes true, but what is mostly true? More or the other way around is the other way around, which is never true, and which is like, I guess sometimes is true. So yeah, it's hard to take them sometimes and know, and it depends on the day. And so yeah, your test is a good place to start, but it's not the end all be all.
So I know, and the reason I want to do this, I see people post all the time and they talk about, this is kind of like the in thing right now. Like, what's your number? Who are, and it's like,
it is.
It's kind of the little buzzword or who. And so I kind of had the FOMO, a fear of missing out. I needed to know what that looked like.
I'm the queen of FOMO. I get it.
Yeah. So So tell us the whole procedure. Like if someone there, if you guys are on here, first of all, if you know what your number is, put your number in here. If you don't know what your Enneagram number is, say, I have no idea what you're even talking about. What, you know, what do we have? And so tell us, like, from start to finish, what's that look like? How does someone become their best at that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first, the test is a really great place to start, but like I said, it could depend on if you had a bad day and then you took the test, you might answer the questions very differently than if you just are having such a great day, or if you're in a really stressful time. Like a lot of moms, when they take the test right after, when their kids are little or things like that, like it can be skewed. If you're in a stressful time at work, that might change your answer. So taking the test is a really good place to start. But then once you get the test back, you get your answers back, it's really important to look at what each number really means. So there are 9 numbers. And when you look at some Enneagram resources, and there are some that are better than others, what it tells you, the thing to look at to really confirm your number is what is your motivation? So that's what's so powerful about the Enneagram, is each number has a basic motivation. What is the thing that drives you? So everybody has personalities that are different. Everyone acts a lot the same. All moms are, you know, trying to do their best. They're good moms. There are some that are more organized. There are some that are more fun. There are some, you know, that are more structured. And so you can kind of start to be like, well, I'm like this and I'm like this and I'm a little bit like that. But when you really boil it down, the basic, very baseline of figuring out your number is, what is your motivation? Why do you do the things that you do? So you can act a lot like other people, but why? Why do you do that? Are you doing it to feel successful? Are you doing it because, you know, you are a helpful person? Are you doing it because you really enjoy fun? So there are a lot of different reasons why you do something. So that's really important to figure out your number. And then learning the motivations of all the numbers really helps you to interact with each other. So as you learn the numbers and all of that, and what they mean, it's really important to know how they interact with each other. So that is kind of, and then that's just a process all the time. There are so many different factors to your Enneagram. But knowing that basic motivation, your basic desire, what drives you, what drives someone else, and why they would react that way or why they would behave that way, really changes all the relationships in your life.
So yesterday I took mine. So
Okay.
and I sent them over to you. So I had the type 7. So let's talk about type 7. What does that mean?
So 7 is the enthusiast. 7s are usually everybody's favorite person. And you can see this in your life. If you really are a 7, which I think that you are, it sounds very appropriate to me from what I know of you. But first, all numbers are good and all numbers have fun. But 7s are the enthusiasts, and they love positivity. So they have their driving motivation is to avoid pain, avoid negativity. And so their fear, each number kind of has a basic fear also. And one of their biggest fears is just being trapped in negativity, trapped in pain. So they spend a lot of time just being super excited about things. They're dreamers. They're really good at seeing a big picture, dreaming a big picture, dreaming for other people, and being enthusiastic. So they're the ones that are spontaneous and are the ones that, like, you know, like right now, let's go have ice cream for breakfast. And, you know, that they start big projects, and they kind of usually have a lot of irons in the fire. They just are, because they get excited about new adventures and things like that. So they're everybody's favorite person because they're always happy. They're laughing. They're gregarious. They're jokesters, because they're just trying to bring everybody out of negativity, keep everybody happy and fun. So 7s, like, people love 7s. The author Bob Goff, do you know Bob Goff? He wrote the book Love Does. He is a quintessential 7. So just the idea that, like, he just loves people, and everybody's favorite person is Bob Goff.
I love that. So then I see when people put like W or wing, or what does that mean? So if someone's like, so I know for me, you said mine was a type 8. And so there was a 3 between that 7 and 8. So what's the difference? What's the wing mean? What's a W word?
Your wing is a number that is directly next to you. So if you see the Enneagram, it's a big circle and it's got numbers all around it, 1 through 9. So your wing is, yep, perfect. Yep. So the number directly next to yours, either to the left or to the right. So you would be a 7 wing 6 or you'd be a 7 wing 8. And so the reason why I didn't say that you're a 7 wing 3 is because that's not how they work. So even though 3 kind of was your second highest number, it looks like since 8 was so high up there, that kind of is an indicator that maybe 8 is a wing. Now that is just based on the test results that you gave me, but that would, that's based on the way you answered the question. So your wing is always directly next to you. It's not your secondary number. It's not something that like you also are an 8. It's just that the personality of 8 really informs a lot of how you are a 7. Does that make sense?
Interesting. Yeah, I had no idea on that. So, because I had people say, oh yeah, I'm a this and a W this. And I'm like, oh, so when I saw mine, my first thing was, oh, I'm a 7. And then I must be a W3 because that was the next number. So, but I'm the 8. So, so, and I don't know if anyone's has any questions. So tell us I know I asked you what the best test was for people to take, because there's other tests. There's a lot of free ones. There's a lot of ones that probably don't get as good results.
So the Enneagram is not anything that's copyrighted. So anybody can make a test. I can just say, I've read the Enneagram book. I've learned a lot about the Enneagram and I'm going to make my own test. So in doing that, and since it's not copyrighted, anybody can make the test. The test I gave you is from the Enneagram Institute, and they are the best resource I have found to really dive into each number kind of in a holistic way. So if I just decide to make a test, I feel like my test will be very informed by my own number, by the people that I know that are certain numbers. I might phrase the question in a different way based on numbers that I know. So to me, the Enneagram Institute is the most unbiased test. They have the most neutral questions that aren't very leading, kind of making it seem like this is the right answer and this is the wrong answer. So it feels a little bit more like a legitimate test to me. So you can find a lot of free ones and they are helpful, but they are usually colored by someone who is not as trained or well studied as the people at the Enneagram Institute. So
in your business, the people that you've helped, you guys, I know you and Ty do like a mastermind and do things with people. What do you find, if I know my number, how does that help people? How is that moving people in a team together, people in a room together? How does that?
Totally. So for us, I do a lot of training in business, how to use the Enneagram in business. But what always happens is as we're talking about it, as we're thinking about it, everyone starts to think like, I think my wife is a 3, or I think my husband's a 6. And so it has really kind of become something, and this is why I love it so much. It becomes something that you can use in all areas of your life. So I use it. You're not really supposed to type your kids because they're supposed to type themselves and answer the questions for themselves, but I'm pretty sure I know both my kids are. But so it's just helped my parenting and even thinking through that, like even parenting, knowing that I am a 2. And so parenting out of that and knowing how to really take a look at my weaknesses and determine how that's interacting with my kids' personalities or my husband's personality. So, but at work, we own an insurance agency and we all interact very closely together. And there was one person on our team that was just always kind of misunderstood. And I felt like I understood them very well. And it turns out it's because we're closely related on the Enneagram. So I just felt like if I could get other people to see what I see and understand, I think it would change everything. And so he was an 8, and 8s are the challengers, and they're an often very misunderstood number. They're probably the most misunderstood number of any number on the Enneagram. They're called the challengers. So they're always pushing on people, and they kind of, I don't want to say that they enjoy arguing, but they kind of do. They push. They're pushers. And so they push new ideas. They push back on ideas. They push back on authority. Martin Luther King was an 8. coincidentally, Mother Teresa was also an 8. So they challenge the status quo, which a lot of times upsets people. And so 8s are really misunderstood. And once our team understood this person and what an 8 does and the value of an 8 and how important they are, they realized that their challenging was actually really important and valuable and a sign of respect and love. And so it changed everything in our office. And I think from that moment on, just understanding that, our whole team was in.
I love
So,
that.
and now they're all, with it, their families and their parenting and their spouses and stuff. So yeah, it's really been fun to see it kind of lead out into everything.
So if someone is the wing or W8, does that mean the same thing? Is that the pusher? Does that mean the same when when it's your W?
Yeah. So an 8 is, they're afraid to be controlled. So they're not necessarily, they don't want to control anybody else. They just don't want to be controlled. So their main motivation is to make sure that they are not being controlled. And when that is the case, a lot of times people like their parents or people like their boss who are in positions of authority, or a teacher, can really struggle with an 8, because sometimes there's a position for authority and there's a time for that. And an 8 just always pushes back on that just naturally. And so it's important for 8s to understand how to harness that and understand the time for that and the place for that, because obviously Mother Teresa used her 8 for so much good. They make great advocates. And Martin Luther King Jr., very strong people who advocate for people who are oppressed or need a voice. 8s have a really loud voice, and so they're really great people. But it can be really hard to interact with an 8, to lead an 8, to be in charge of an 8. And it's really hard to be an 8 sometimes when you don't quite understand why you are the way you are. So it's important for everybody to kind of have that language.
Yeah, no, I love that. So real quick, can you name like what number 1 is? What's that title? So if you're 1, you're...
Sure. If you're 1, you are the reformer or the perfectionist. That is, you like to be seen as good, as having integrity. That's my wing. I'm a 2 with a 1 wing. Very heavy 1 wing. For a long time, I thought maybe I am a 1. And that's still sometimes a struggle to decide, but I'm pretty sure I'm a 2. A 2 is the helper. And they just want to be needed. They love to help. They feel fulfilled helping other people, so they're always looking for places to fill a need. The 3 is the achiever, and sometimes they're called the performer also. They are just go-getters all the time. They value success, yours and theirs. They like when everyone's achieving. They like when everyone's succeeding. So, and they're able to kind of motivate the people around them and kind of become like the people around them in order to kind of call everybody up to achievement and greatness. 4s are a tricky number too, because they are another misunderstood number. They're very in tune with their own emotions. They're very artistic. And so they're called the romantic. They're like the artists, the poets, the people who like a poetry slam is like, that is for 4s, that just, you kind of read a poem or hear a song and someone is just so moved by it and everybody else is like, I don't get it. That person's a 4. They can walk into a room and see a canvas that is so confusing to everybody else, and they are moved by the colors and the feeling of painting. That's a 4. So they're called the romantic. The 5 is the investigator, and they really value knowledge and being seen as knowledgeable. And so they like to investigate. They like to collect a lot of information. They're always the person who has like a tidbit about everything. They love trivia. So things like that. A 5 is really knowledgeable about a lot of things, very specialty knowledge. A 6 is, a 6 has 2 kinds of, kind of 2 types. They're like subtypes, and it's the only number that has a subtype. But there's a phobic 6 and a non-phobic 6. So a 6 is called the loyalist, and they are afraid of the world, of things that can can go wrong. They're the person that they're slow to trust, but then once you earn their trust, they are loyal to the end. And so the phobic 6 will see a fear and run from it, and a non-phobic 6 will run to it to conquer their fear. So I always use the example skydiving. A phobic 6 will say, I'm never going skydiving. Why would you even get in? Do you see that tiny little plane? It's so rickety. Why would you jump out of a perfectly good airplane? A non-phobic 6 will say, I have to go skydiving because I have to conquer my fear and know that it's not as scary as it seems. So 6s they go 2 different ways. They have 2 sub numbers. 7 is the enthusiast. That's what you are. The 8 is the challenger. And the 9 is a peacemaker. So they really value peace and harmony in themselves and in the world. So they run from conflict. They don't enjoy conflict. I mean, nobody enjoys conflict, but it sends a 9 into turmoil, and which they also don't enjoy. Their inner turmoil and turmoil with anybody else.
Right. I love that. So Hayley, say someone wants to work with you and learn more about this. Is that something possible?
Yeah.
Is that something, do you do in group settings,
Yeah.
online, or individuals, or if someone wants to hire you to say, figure me out?
Yeah. Well, first, I can't figure you out, but I can definitely help you get there. It's something that's really something I enjoy and I really, really love. So yeah, I love to help people with this. I've been doing it for businesses. I've been doing some just kind of personal training with different people in groups, things like a Bible study, just taking like a week or 2 to do some Enneagram study, and kind of, a lot of it is personal. And so kind of talking through the numbers and then really thinking about it for yourself, and then coming back together and talking about how do you understand and interact with each other is super important. So yeah, I love to do it.
I love that. So I'll put all your information in the comments. So you guys, if you want to, it might be something I think would be fun just to do our whole team of health coaches, clients that want to do it. And because I think just knowing, like you said, you had a 8 that was difficult, and it's like, once you realize that difficult can be maybe a strength, in that. So it kind of interesting because some of the things you said for a 7 was spot on for me. So, always have something going, start new businesses and all of that. So, because we did launch a new business yesterday, so it's kind of, so perfect timing. So thank you so much, Hayley. And
thanks for having me. I love to talk about it, obviously.
If you guys forever. And if you guys found value, if this was helpful, if you want more information, put that in the comments so we know. And then Hayley will get us some more information for you guys. And I'd love to hear what you guys are. So I am a 7W8. And so happy Tuesday, guys.